So we're going to create a web page which is a perfect above the fold content. And if you're watching this video online, you can find the code that I'm going to be writing by going to GitHub, which is social coding, and then in GitHub go to repositories, and inside there go to HTML CSS Bootcamp. And if you like this and you want to learn more about the web, you can go to Udemy, Todd McLeod, and then inside here are all the classes. And this is a early release preview for HTML and CSS. It'll be live in a couple of weeks. But you could get there still by going to my account. You won't be able to find it if you search. But that's a really nice training, very thorough, of HTML and CSS. And so we're going to do a perfect above the fold content and just build a nice little web page. So I'm inside the 00temp04 folder, and I'm going to do new HTML file. Index is the traditional name for the main file in a website. And so then I give it a title, and I could say above the fold, and so that's what I could call it. And then when I preview this, that title is what appears up here in the tab. So that's kind of cool to see. And the next thing I want to do is I just want to have some information. And so I'm going to do like I don't know, welcome to the machine. I kind of like that. I think that's kind of cool. Now I want that to be in the center. So if I preview this now, it's just up here in the top corner. So I'm going to create HTML is where you put in your content. So it's like an introduction to HTML and CSS. Kind of going slow. We're in an introduction to computers class. And HTML is where you put in your content and you structure your content. CSS is how you format it. So I'm going to go and create a new style sheet. And it'll be the main style sheet. But now I need to connect it to this document. So I say that style sheet can be found here. And so now that's connected. And I'm just going to keep it simple here and not do any mobile or anything like that. So the first thing I want to do is do a little bit of a reset. So in CSS, let me just split this vertically. You could target things, target elements over in your HTML. And you do that with a rule set. And a rule set is made up of a selector or selectors, right? Separated by commas, and then a declaration block. And a declaration block is going to have properties and values, and then a semicolon. And so we set values to properties, and so there are things that we could change. So let me just show you how that works, right? So usually it's just one selector in your rule set, and then your declaration block and a property and a value. So I'm going to say H1. So I've selected the element H1 over on my HTML with that selector, and now I could set properties and values. Like I could change the font color, and we just call it color, and I could change it to red. So now that font color is going to be red, right? But what I want to do is I kind of want to get this into the center of my screen. And so to do that, I'm going to first just apply a little bit of a reset. And a reset just kind of browsers add default formatting to elements just out of the gate. And I don't want that, right? And so some of that formatting is like padding and things like that. So for my HTML element and my body element and my H1 element, I'm going to say, and the box model, everything on the internet's a box. It has content. And if we look at that, we can see box model. And let me just show you that. So everything on the internet is a box, and it has content and then padding and then border and a margin. So browsers will automatically put some of that stuff on by default when they read your code. I want to set that to all 0 to override the browser. So padding, border, and margin. I'm going to do padding 0, border 0, margin 0, and then I'm going to set a little thing here, box sizing, property set to the value of border box. And that just means that as I change padding and border on elements, it's not going to increase the size of my element if I've specified the element size. I know that's kind of a lot, but you're just getting a flavor of how you build web pages, and you'd learn this if you take my class. We spent a whole semester on this, learning all the nuances of this, and also you could take that Udemy class online. Why might you want to do that is always a good question. Because if you devote 2 years of your life, 6 hours a day, and then you go to Hack Reactor or some other boot camp, in 2 years you could be making $104,000. So that's pretty good motivation, right? Like they have a 98% graduate hiring rate. Like there's no community college except for the nursing program right here that's saying you come through our program in 2 years and you're going to, and even the nursing program, 60, 75,000. So in 2 years you can be making 104 grand. But you got to be a monk. You have to devote yourself to the discipline of coding. It's a monastic pursuit that often requires, many hours of time every day by yourself meditating and reflecting upon how this stuff is built. And so if you have any inclination towards it, there's good career opportunities. And before you turn 25, it's easier to learn psychologically. At age 25, your brain changes and it's harder to learn languages. You have one of those shifts at 13, but everybody in this room's already past that, so you're out of luck on that one. So you're in the in-between phase. After 25, it becomes even harder. So I changed the color, and now I want to change where this is located. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a border around my body, and I'm going to see what my body on my page looks like. So I'm going to close that, close that, close that, close that, close that. All right, cool. And so now I'll take a look and see what the border around my... So there's the body of the page right now. It just goes towards the top. It's wrapping around the content. But for my body, I'm going to say height is equal to 100 viewport height. So that's just a setting. It's a property with a value. And I'm saying the viewport height, which is the port through which we're viewing this web page, the browser window, is the height of the body is 100. So now when I refresh this, you just saw, let me make the border a little bigger. You just saw that border now is taking up the full screen. Sweet. So now I could come in here and I could set some layout properties and values on this deal. And so layout content, a little comment there. And I'm using the wrong comment notation, so let me fix that. There we go. So I'm going to do some layout content. So display flex. And flex is just how we lay things out. And I'm going to center my text. Justify content center. And so kapow. That's horizontally centered. And now I'm going to align the content. It's align items. I was unsure about that. I wanted to type items, but then I thought, well, maybe it's content. I'm aligning it vertically. So now I have that right in the middle of the screen. That's pretty cool, right? But instead of that being on the body, because the body should be the whole body of my page, I'm going to add that to a container. And then with that container, I'm going to change this to it's going to be pound ATF. So that's selecting that above the fold container, right? So it's going to look the same, except now we had a little bit of a shift there, right? It's not quite fitting. You see that? It's not one. It's a little bit more than 100 VH. So I'm going to add up here. My div should be reset too. Now it's back to perfect because the browser is adding in some padding or border or margin. All right, cool. Welcome to the machine. I don't think H1, the color is right there. I'm going to go with like a dark gray or a light gray because I'm going to have a, so there's the light gray. And then I'm going to make it bigger so I could do font size like 5 rem. And so that just looks to the default size of the browser. Font size of the browser multiplies it by 5. So there's welcome to the machine. And then I just need to find a really cool machine graphic. So I'm going to just go look on images. And I could go to search tools and I could search for the size and make it large because it needs to be a big image. And then I could also do maybe factory would be better. And factory machine. And you know, I think this one's kind of interesting right there. I like that one. Like that looks pretty trippy, dude.
It's knitting.
Huh?
It's for knitting.
That's for knitting?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That's so weird. Totally looks high tech. Looks like those are cameras, but they're spools, huh? That's wild. What a nutty looking thing. But there's a foreboding quality to that a little bit of a machine, right? Like this is almost like, and when you look for design, like when you look at like the original Mac, you know, they designed this to look like a human, right? Where it has a little mouth and a face and proportions. So I don't know. That was the idea behind it, but it doesn't really get me thinking human when I look at that. But if you look at cars that look like humans, I'm just guessing. I've never Googled this before. Like that's kind of human-y looking, right? Eyes and mouth. Like, and it looks like it's smiling, correct? Like if you look at the BMW grill right now, BMW grill, like that's kind of cute. And it makes me think of which grill is it that doesn't look cute? Like, I think maybe, is it Lexus? Oh, it's Lexus. Lexus grill. Like that just looks like Darth Vader's mask to me, right? That looks a little bit like some weird alien bug that's about to eat me. I'm not attracted to that. Like the BMW, and we're just talking design here for a second. The BMW. Let's just compare these, okay? I'm going to hit back. So there's Lexus. Here's the BMW. And let's do BMW grill. BMW 520 520i xDrive. 520i. Okay, so there's the BMW, and then let's take a look at their. Oh, that one's nice. Let's take a look at the Mercedes. I don't know Mercedes, so I'm just going to do Mercedes 2016. Okay, like really different sort of looks, but you know. Like what is being conveyed to you by how this has been designed? Because it's all the same use to transport somebody, but these convey different energies or different senses. Like the Mercedes taillights look like a cat to me. I'm totally like going off on cars. Mercedes taillights. Like that looks kind of like a cat for some reason to me. I'm not a big fan of that look. Like that. And it's got an eye quality, but it's a little bit of a hawkish eye. And so people who design things think about this stuff, and what they're thinking is, what does this unconsciously bring to mind for you? So all of that from this knitting machine. I don't know if this is my favorite machine, but you know, another one which is a really awesome machine is the CERN Collider, Large Hadron Collider, or whatever the heck that stands for. And we want large. Cool, we're getting large, and what's a nice image of that? Sorry, I've just completely stopped doing web dev and I'm like off on a tangent. That is great because it gives the scale. So I'm going to go to View Image. It's not quite as big as I'd like, but we'll see how it works. Save image as 01. And save it on my desktop. Show image in Finder. Copy it and go to my code and drop it in there. Cool. So now I'm going to put that image into the background of my ATF. So I'm going to do background, background, dash, and I have all these choices. And this is code completion in an editor that gives you suggestions, right? So I want background image, and then here are the different things I could choose. I'm going to choose URL, and I want that image, okay? And I want background dash, and I have image, color, position, repeat, size, and I'm going to choose cover. It's going to cover this entire element, which is the whole top of the page. And I could do background and then just look and see what's the next thing. So I've used image and I've used size, cover, position, and I'm going to do center. And I'm going to do background dash color, image, position, size, repeat, and I'm going to do no repeat. And then background dash repeat, size, attachment, blend mode, clip, origin, position X, position Y. I think that's enough, and let's just look at what it looks like now. So now I'm going to look at this. Welcome to the machine. That's pretty cool. All right. So I'm going to make this bigger now, okay, and a little bit darker just to fit in. And so to make it bigger, down here I'll try 7 rem, 8 rem. Welcome to the machine. And then the color, I could click right here and I could start playing with this color wheel. And that silver color is kind of cool. Maybe I just want straight black, you know, but I could start to do like a blue. Choose. That's not working. So I'm just going to go with red, green, blue. And if all of them are, that's yellow, let's see, I think that should be black. That's white. So I need to do none of them, and that's black. So there's white. And then maybe I'll do around the font. I'll do maybe some border. So font, size, family, weight, features, kerning, stretch. And if I can't remember how to do a font border, like, you know, shadow around font, I come to just Google and type CSS font shadow. And text shadow property, text shadow, right? Text shadows, text shadow. So it looks like it's text shadow. So I'm going to type in text shadow and enter and then space and inset. I don't know what that'll do. But I could come here and I could look at it. So text shadow MDN is Mozilla Developers Networks. We have box shadow property describes one or more shadow effects. Multiple box shadows, same as multiple text. Text shadow, let's read text shadow and see what text shadow says. So text shadow, offset X, offset Y, blur radius, and color. So text shadow, offset X, I'll do 1 pixel, offset Y, 1 pixel, and blur radius, we'll do 5 pixels, and we'll do color, pound 000, which is black. So now when we look at that, right, made it stand out a little bit more. And I'm wondering if we could get it all the way around. How do we get the text shadow all the way around? So offset X, offset Y, defaults for color. So maybe no offset X and Y, but just a big blur radius will make it come out. So 0, 0, no X, no Y. And like, let's just exaggerate it and do 50 pixels and see if it really pops out around all sides. So that's a big blur radius. Let's just keep looking here to see color, offset, offset. CSS, text, shadow, all sides. You can apply multiple text shadows by comma separating. Text shadow property, text shadow generator. That looks like it could be interesting. Look at me, look mono images. No, I don't want to do that right now. Basic shadow, hard shadow. See, those are all just like being offset in one direction. I want it all the way around. So what I could go back to is 1 pixel X, 1 pixel Y, and just copy that 4 times. And my blur radius will go back to 5. And so first we're going to bring it over X and over Y. 1, that's going to bring it down. And then we're going to go over X and over that. Now I'll go that way and then that way. And so this is like down and to the left. And then 0, 0, I think we got to do a -1 and a -1. So it'll go, so if this is our square, let's see what that looks like. Oh, and you need commas between these. So you can do multiples, but they have to be separated by commas. And when it's 0, it doesn't like the pix after it. I wonder if I could put those on separate lines or if it balks. Looks good. So I'm just going to comment out my picture so I can play with this for a second. And then come back here and refresh it. So that got it, right? And we can look at that to see what did it. So if I take these two out, that's interesting. We'll go to 2 pixels there. And we'll make this one red, just so we could see. So the red is down 1 and over 1. I mean, that's kind of cool, right? That you could do that. And I came down 1 pixel and over 1 pixel. So if I go now just X is 0 and Y is 1. I'm just going to comment this one out and put a semicolon there. That'll still run. Right? So here, when X was 0, it just came down 1. So that's how I got my bottom. So that's my bottom. And then when I go over, that's my right. And then when I come up, I need 0 and -1. So I need to keep track of these. So first I had 0, 1, and then I had, first I had 1, 1, and then 0, 1, and now I'm going to go 0, -1, and let's look at that. That brought it to the top, right? And now I need -1 here, and I need 0 there. And that's going to bring it to the left. See that? So now I could stitch all that together. And take out those 0 pixels. And this is called multiple, look at that, editing multiple places at once. Isn't that cool? So, yeah, it's just the editor. You know, like I could select multiple things and then just. So now I turned them all back to black, and I'll give them all a little bit more blur radius, and then welcome to the machine. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to punch my image back on. And now it's a little bit more readable. So that's like a really nice little start to doing an above the fold web page. But then I might also want to have something up top where I have who's like not interested anymore. Who's still interested? Let me see your hands. Seen enough. You've kind of got an introduction, right? Like that's enough. But that's pretty cool. I'd get rid of this green border on the outside. So that green border is around my above the fold stuff, and it's right there. So that's just proving that that's above the fold.
How long did it take you to learn all that? You did that like so fast.
Yeah, thanks. I started coding summer of 2015, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, just like a year. I'll teach you this by the end of spring semester. You'll be doing this. Like if you take my HTML CSS course, and in 1 year you could totally be rocking it, right? But then you could start to create websites and deploy them, like temp. Like this is deployed right now. This is live on the web. You could go to this website and you could see this, right? And this is one of the websites we create in the class, and we learn how to push it out to the web. And so that's the front end, the HTML and the CSS. So that's the front end. I should deploy my my JavaScript whack-a-mole. That's kind of fun. Let me see if I can find it. So I couldn't find the audio files for this whack-a-mole game that I was going to show, but there's the game if you want to find it. It just needs the audio for it. So that's a little introduction to creating websites.